Chapter 7. In the early 70s, ping pong became the rage of the country between Zhuangzi Dong and the World Cup Championship for China. In PE class, because of the regular running and jumping in the dirt field, we would sit in the classroom and listen to the live radio report of the World Cup match in progress. With each score gained by a Chinese player against a Western player, we pounded our tables and cheered. When the games were over, we all sang. The eastern winds blow and the drums of war echo. In today's world, who is afraid of whom? We are not afraid of the Russian and American imperialists. It is they who are afraid of us. The success of this ping-pong diplomacy made us swell like hot air balloons. We were finally winning something in the international arena. The school had a carpenter build 2 ping-pong tables. A stone slab served as the 3rd table. During break, hundreds of kids crowded around the 3 tables and took turns playing. We played a 3-point game. Good players could stay in a game for a long time. Bad players were thrown out as quickly as they came. I became so involved that even after school, I practiced at home. Gradually, I turned into one of the better ping-pong players on campus. One weekend, we heard that there was a new movie being shown 20 miles away from Yellowstone in the capital of city of Putin. That was a whopping distance of hills and valleys, especially if you had to wheel yourself around. The young tractor driver of our commune had seen it on one of his trips carrying fuel to the big city. A small crowd gathered around as he told everyone about how good it was. When he came to the description of the leading lady, he stopped, looked into our faces as if to prepare us for a shocker, then slowly made a few curves in the air with his hands and whistled. "Is she that beautiful?" someone whispered. The driver nodded, simply beyond words. "Go see it." We were sold. Zen took out his old bike, splashed it down with water, and sent a little boy to call me at home, respectfully keeping a distance from my strict mom. "Your friend sent the messenger to call you," Mom said. He had apparently spilled our plans. "Be careful when you're in Putin. There is a lot of traffic there." To my surprise and delight, Mom gave me a half a yuan for the trip. Son's bike was a museum piece. It rattled in places where it shouldn't have and was mute where it should have made noise. It was, nonetheless, mounted with a long back seat. There were 5 of us. We rode that bike the acrobatic way. 1 pedaled, 2 straddled the back seat, and 1 sat sideways on the handlebars, rarely giving the peddler room to see. The 5th passenger ran behind and helped push up the heavy load uphill. Every 2 miles, we changed seating arrangements so that both runner and peddler would get a rest. It was pathetic to see the old bike groaning under all that weight, slogging through the rough, muddy road with almost flat tires. It took us a good 3 hours to reach Putin. We were covered with sweat and a layer of sand when we dismounted at the bridge, which looked like the entrance to the ancient city, and walked the rest of the way. Had a cop seen us, he would have thrown us off the bike for riding so dangerously in heavy traffic. He might even have taken the bike away, since Son had never gotten a license for it. Soon we were in front of the county's largest movie theater, pride and excitement gripping our hearts. We stared at the tall iron fence, the thick columns, and the fashionably dressed young people wearing their long, greasy hair ducktail style and sporting skin-tight bell-bottom trousers. The girls wore colorful nylon skirts that flew above their creamy white knees as the sea wind swirled over the dusty ground. Since most women in China usually wore standard blue pants just like the men, this was a rare sight. "Mogong is a little lost for words here," said Zhang, the known cosmopolitan who had traveled far and often. He hit Mogong's head with the side of his hand. "Tell us who these angels are, Zhang," he said with his eyes glued to a particularly tall and leggy girl. Zhang took a long draw on a cigarette, narrowed his eyes like an old sailor, and said, Those are the children of Chinese families who came back after they were kicked out from places like the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia when those places turned against the Chinese. Those foreign countries were all anti-China. Can you imagine? Now they live on a farm especially set aside for them by the government with a special supply store. They're rich people with rich relatives back in their home countries who send them money monthly. A postman covering that area said that at the new year he had to carry money to the farm in large canvas sacks. The 5 of us stood there admiring the youthful crowd as they rode around on fancy scooters, their girlfriends holding on to their waist. It didn't seem too bad a fate. By the time we got to the theater, it was filled with smoke, and the hallways were packed with people holding standing room tickets. Kids hung from the windows trying to get a better view. On the platform stood a wide screen with loudspeakers on either side. There were even children sitting behind the screen looking up. They were going to watch the movie in reverse. We had to push and shove to get other viewers off our seats and in the last row against the wall. The place smelled like sweat and felt like an oven, but it was well worth all the trouble we'd been through to get there. The plot of the movie was run-of-the-mill Cultural Revolution stuff. The story took place in a seaside village. A landlord was plotting against the local Communist Party, whose leader was the gorgeous goddess of curvy contours. In the end, the landlord was trashed and the good guys won. Throughout the movie, I could hear Mo Gong and Sin ooh and ah with each close-up of the star. Saeng was so drawn to the plot and carried away by the beautiful goddess that he forgot to smoke and almost burned his fingers. We got home at 9 in the evening, hungry and tired. Mom had cooked a pot of delicious noodles with vegetables and had kept it warm for me. With her approval, I took it to Yai's workshop and shared it with my buddies. First, there was surprise that my mom had allowed me to do this. Then there was a fight among my hungry friends to scoop up portions into their bowls. We slurped those long noodles silently. When we put down our chopsticks, full and relaxed, a warm feeling of being together like a family swept over us. We celebrated the good time with loud and long burps, laughing until our stomachs hurt. Though we sat in a humble mud hut with flickering kerosene light, it felt as if we had the whole world within our hearts.